And very fortunate to get a win. Arkansas State, again, our conference, we have a tough conference. And again, very proud of our football team. I think offensively, we ran the ball. We had 200-yard rushers and threw the ball for 7.3 yards per play. And then on defense, we had 11 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, 3 picks, and 2 for touchdowns. And very impressed with special teams. They had 2 great returners. We were able to hold those guys in check, and our guys played very fast on special teams in the first game of the year that we had no penalties on special teams. So very proud of that. And then we got back late Saturday and moved on to South Alabama.
Sean, as you had the chance to go back and now watch the film, any new discoveries, anything that maybe saw a little more enlightenment for you that you want to take and apply to going forward?
No, I thought our guys played with great effort and energy. I thought the sideline was really good, and I think we won all 3 phases of the football game. And again, the numbers are good, but there's so much more to improve on. I thought our tight ends played very well in the run game, and I thought our offensive line did a good job. And on defense, I thought Nick Hampton had an outstanding game. Should have had a couple more sacks as a slick surface for some reason. And I really impressed with our secondary. I mean, those guys really read their keys, broke on the ball, and played fast. And as good as a win as it was, we have so much more to improve on to get ready for South Alabama. Coach Womack and his staff did an unbelievable job with those guys of getting things turned around. And there's kind of a direction from the head coach watch those guys. I mean, they're playing to his personality, which is very aggressive.
Talk a little bit about the running game, and I'd like you to kind of give me a feel whether this is correct or not. It felt like in the first half there was a lot of focus maybe on outside zone and really trying to establish that. And when you guys came back after halftime, it felt like maybe it flipped a little bit, and there was a lot of just kind of punishing runs on the inside zone right up the A gaps. And you really had a lot of success establishing dominance at the line of scrimmage and really just chewing the clock up in the second half with that running game. Was there anything that changed outside zone to inside zone as you went through the game?
No, I think a lot of the coverages and how they lined up dictates how you should run the football. And a lot of credit goes to Coach Carwell and Watts and Coach Ponce of realizing that throughout the game and changing their views of how we should attack the defense. But we did try to run the ball more outside early, and then we changed to more the inside run. And again, that's just a want-to. I think our players really we challenged those guys at halftime to run the football, and it showed. And a lot of credit goes to those running backs also. They were getting those 4 and 5 yards of hard runs, and that toward later on, 8 and 9 yards toward the end. So, again, very proud of everyone involved.
As you do move forward to South Alabama, obviously some news on Saturday, always impossible to know until game time exactly what's going to happen usually. But they had a quarterback, Jake Bentley, that's been starting, got hurt, came out. Desmond Trotter came in, played most of that game. And he's a guy you guys are familiar with, you've seen before. In the event that it's Trotter at quarterback, what are the things that you recall that he probably brings to the game plan that might be a little different than Bentley was bringing?
Oh, we went back and watched, was it 2019 game we played at South Al, and he played. And he's a very athletic quarterback and throw the football well. I mean, they had a different staff then. They had more quarterback runs, but I don't think their offense is going to change 11 weeks into it. So we'll still have the same schemes from South Al, just, again, different quarterback. And, I feel awful for Jake and Bentley. I know his dad well, and we hope he has a speedy recovery, and we're thinking about him.
Also, you see another big-name receiver this week, and you guys are on a little bit of a nice run here. Against Coastal, you did a really good job containing Isaiah Likely at tight end, did a good job with all of the Monroe receivers, and then, Corey Rucker was pretty quiet on Saturday, which has not been the streak he's on. Now you come up against Jalen Tolbert for South Al, and he has just been incredibly dominant this season. I'm not sure anyone's really slowed him down yet. As you think back to what was making you successful in those prior weeks, how can those lessons be applied going forward to Tolbert this week?
That was a long question. But no, again, we know what the receiver's capable of. And throughout the season, he's changed different jersey numbers. In 1 week he's 8, 1 week he's 2. So we have to do a really good job of recognizing who the person is that we're playing instead of the number. But again, their scheme is to go to him. But again, they have 3 or 4 really good receivers, and I'm impressed with their offensive line, their running backs. I think their tight ends do a good job, and Jake did a really good job of getting the ball to the playmakers. And we just had to do a good job of playing our defense, reading our keys, staying on top, and not giving the big play up.
Sean, you mentioned the tight end performance, and obviously some guys had to step into a little bit bigger roles on Saturday. Just what kind of stood out about, how well they did play when you noted? Because even in the passing game, like Malik's touchdown throw, Miller's able to protect him and give him the time, and just whether it's run game or passing game.
Yeah, well, that group is very close. And if you back in, it's probably one of the closest groups in our football teams, the tight end room. And Henry was unable to be at the game, and those guys wanted to play hard for Henry. And they really stepped up. Mike Evans played well. I look at Miller Gibbs. He's blocked the best. That's the best he's blocked since he's been here. Eli Wilson played well. And those guys really stepped up to the challenge. And you're never going to replace Henry Pearson. All you can do is hope you play as good or not. Just to represent Henry throughout that game, I think they did a really good job.
Just the way Nick Hampton's been able to get to the passer, we've seen that potential from him for a couple of years. What do you think has kind of come together for him to be maybe more of a consistent, performer on that side of the ball?
No, I think the game slowed down for him. And again, we're getting the opposing teams in some passing situations that really lets him flourish in his pass rush. And when Coach Nunn and Coach DeBastiani has done an unbelievable job of really working on fine-tuning his pass rush skills, and I've seen it since he's been a freshman here. He's always had that elite speed off the edge, very good with his hands, and can really set the offensive tackle to dip back inside when he needs to. And he'll continue to get better and better as he goes on.
All right, we'll take our next questions from Ethan Joyce, Winston-Salem Journal.
Hey, Sean, first off, with this stretch that Stephen Jones is on, what's that been like for you to watch, but also just maybe seeing him thrive in this responsibility that he was given at the start of the season with a lot more playing time?
Again, we've always known what Stephen Jones was capable of here. He's played behind some really good corners, and he's played sparingly throughout his time here. But this year was a chance for him to really step up and be a positive impact for our defense. And I see him do it in practice, and just to watch him mature. I mean, if you had known Stephen his freshman year to now, it's a totally different person. He's going to graduate here soon, and just very proud of him. He puts the work in, gives all the credit to his teammates, and I think he exemplifies what a true Mountaineer is.
Sean, when you get 3 straight wins, especially in conference play, what kind of effect do you see that have on a locker room, and maybe what kind of effect do you hope it has on a locker room that's in the thick of its season?
Repeat the question one more time, I'm sorry.
Hey, yeah, I was asking just the effect of a 3-game win streak in conference play on a locker room, and what you hope the effect it has on the locker room in the thick of a season.
Well, that's the expectation, is to win all your games when you play at Appalachian State. But again, I think for us, it's about, are you peaking? Have you peaked? Are you on the downward slide? And, our guys, they realize every game we've played since Lafayette has been a championship game. And just to watch the detail in practice, how they prepared, and just they're playing to have fun now. And I think that's important. I mean, we're not playing tight. We're not playing not to mess up. We're playing to do well. And to watch those guys in the locker room celebrate, it's a lot better on Sunday morning when you come in here. And they have a task at hand. And I think we have a mature football team that understands that. It's one game at a time, and they're not looking forward to anything that they can't control. And all we can control is the South Alabama game this week, and we're looking forward to it.
You mentioned their head coach and his defensive background. Can you kind of give us a look at maybe what the tendencies of a defense that he's got a hand on looks like?
I got a chance to meet Kane this past fall, and just what an unbelievable person he is. And we went back and watched all of his Indiana games. He was the D coordinator in Indiana, and the way they played. I mean, they line up the right way. They get 11 halves to the football. They play aggressive. He's not afraid to blitz and play zero behind it, and he's not afraid to play coverage. And they got good enough players to do all those things. But I think the team is kind of taking on his persona in some ways, if you know Kane, and they're playing aggressive. Their whole football team is playing aggressive, and it's a totally different football team from 2 years ago.
Last one for me. When you met him, did you give him any advice as far as being a new head coach or a first-time head coach and how to process that first season?
Yeah, don't go through it through COVID.
All right, we'll go next to Kenneth Reese, Watauga Online.
Hey, Coach. How concerned were you with those penalties in the first half? Looking back at the stats, you had a total for the game of 6 penalties for 85 yards compared to their 3 penalties for 40 yards. How much of a concern was that when the penalties started kind of racking up there?
Well, I think there's two kind of penalties. One, a holding call or a pass interference, or those are calls that happen throughout the game. But probably the most disappointing was the unsportsmanlike conduct. That's something we don't tolerate around here, and we had a good, clean talking to those players about that during the game, and we're not going to tolerate it. And if we keep doing those things, they won't be playing here. But the penalties, there's two types of penalties. One's your play hard penalties, one are dumb penalties, and we had two dumb penalties that we had to get corrected.
Well, and I was going to ask about that second penalty that you just referenced too. Did you address that to the entire team or just the player involved?
Which one?
The unsportsmanlike.
There was two of them, but it was addressed on the sideline, and I'm pretty sure the stadium understood where I was coming from.